on Memorial Day as you go to Jefferson Barracks and you honor the fallen and those who have passed, who have served our country, but you honor those perhaps who were killed in action in war. Those wars, the ones that were unnecessary, if you look at Iraq, if you look at Vietnam, there weren't any. Those were started by heterosexual males. You know, uh, George W. Bush didn't have any pronouns, and so all I'm saying is, let's watch out for just reflexively believing that just because you happen to adhere to a certain lifestyle that you're automatically incompetent and unable to maneuver the ways of the world. And I got to tell you, if we're honest with ourselves and we're honest about how we look at things and look at history, I do believe that there are plenty of mistakes that have been made by people who are just dyed in the wool heterosexuals with no pronouns. So I want to be careful. I do want to say, however, that if you are Sarah, they, them, if I'm you, I'm kind of keeping your mouth shut about this, because she goes on and has a news conference, and this is what she has to say about the operations of SEMA.
The SEMA office is very small, and the majority of the time we work closer to business hours, unless.
Sarah, whose responsibility is it that the SEMA people work only business hours? As if tornadoes only work business hours. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, tornado, make sure you come only between 9 and 5, because that's when SEMA in the city of St. Louis has everybody in the city covered. I mean, Lordy, come on. And again, whose responsibility was it to set the hours of SEMA? Was it Sarah? I'd like to know. Was it Kara, the mayor? Probably not. Was it the fire department? Probably not. Somebody set the hours of SEMA, and if it was Sarah, they, them, then yeah, that's a problem. But it looks to me, considering that she is apparently new to the job, or I don't really know. This is a culture situation. This is a developed culture of emergency response, and probably not developed by Sarah. What I'm saying is that, scapegoating is a really tough thing. It's a wrong thing, happens a lot, and happens too much in our society now. And I'm seeing people, like, for instance, the fire department had a button that would start the sirens, right? And again, as I said yesterday, how we in this day and age still rely on buttons from 1972 to start the sirens is beyond me. No one has any remote capability, even from your phone now. I mean, you can call a ride to someplace on your phone just using an app. How is it possible that throughout the years in City of St. Louis emergency management, that they didn't come up with more different technology than buttons that have been around since 1970 to start the sirens? It just doesn't make any sense in the world. And whose responsibility is that? Well, probably not Sarah's, and they know that. Whose responsibility was it when everybody in the city of St. Louis, and in fact, everybody in our area, woke up in the morning knowing we were going to get our asses kicked that afternoon? Was Sarah the only one that knew that? No. Everybody knew that. The fire department knew that. The mayor of the city of St. Louis knew that. Everybody knew it. So obviously the buck stops with the SEMA commissioner. But in many ways, the fact that she's on paid leave, everybody in the hierarchy of the city of St. Louis knows that they too are responsible for the fact that the sirens didn't go off. Never mind that. I mean, what do you do when you hear a siren? I've heard sirens blare before too, and I didn't do anything. I mean, so there's always that. A siren isn't the only thing that is going to prevent death or prevent chaos, because people are people, and people tend to, in some way, shape, or form, kind of downplay. Nobody really thinks it's going to happen. And so, Johnny, what do you do when you hear a siren? Do you always go right to the basement when you hear a siren?
I live in the boonies, and I don't have a basement.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I worry.
Yeah.
I stand by, but I have a bug out kit ready to go.
Right
I mean, I'm going to try to outrun the storm.
Yeah.
I had that hail last week, though. That was terrifying. There's nothing I could do about that.
Yeah, right.
The storm, I keep an eye on the radar. Am I going to go north, south?
Yeah.
Am I going to go, to a safe place? But no, my house could literally blow away.
Yeah, right.
So I was kind of like, I used to live in the city for the long. I just recently moved to the boonies about a year ago. And I mean, storm season is dead serious.
Yeah.
In the boonies. And I was like, really? I mean, because it is a very rare thing for it to hit an urban area like that, a large urban area. And we're not even going to get into what when they were first doing the stand-ups, they probably couldn't find a building that was occupied that had fallen down, because all the ones they were showing, I go, there's no personal items in that building.
Yeah, right. Right.
Like that was a North City dollhouse that fell over.
Well, there were a lot of people though affected, and I'll get to that. But you're right, Johnny. I mean, it's one of those things. But my point is, in many ways, that a lot of times when things happen that are bad, we automatically find out whether there are any gays or chicks or blacks involved, and if they are, then it's automatically their fault.
This is a funny take. I'm kind of, liking watching this.
And I mean, I'm sorry, but white male heterosexuals have done a lot of damage to this country. I'm just telling you. I mean, I'm not trying to be crazy here. I'm just trying to be a little more balanced, because sometimes we miss the real story here. And I think the real story here is a culture of mismanagement in the city of St. Louis emergency responses. How is the fire department of the city of St. Louis not being blamed for the fact that their button didn't work? How are they avoiding all blame for any of this? If we're going to make it all about sirens, why is it that the fire department, that button that they were supposed to push, didn't work? So whose responsibility is it to make sure the button works? If you're going to have to use a button, who's going to make sure it works? So, I do think that when Sarah, they, them had her little news conference, I think she was planting the seed of an overall cultural lapse in City of St. Louis emergency management. I'll let you hear it again.
The SEMA office is very small, and the majority of the time we work closer to business hours.
I mean, and I'm not quite sure whether that was her decision or what, but, working business hours, that's not emergency management, right? I mean, by any account. And so I think she's trying to kind of say, hey, I didn't set these hours, or I didn't do this, I didn't do that, and this is what we do. And so she's kind of spreading it out a little ways, and it's pretty crazy. So I'm just saying that I think it's really super easy to zero in on just like one person, when I think we know in our hearts that it probably wasn't just one person, that it probably was a conglomeration of idiocy and abdication of responsibility to the safety of citizens. And so in this way, I see a person who, she probably did play a big role in that. They decided to have their workshop away from the premises, knowing that there was a storm coming. Nobody didn't know a storm was coming. I mean, we knew. The only thing I couldn't figure out is how beautiful it was that day. And I'm like, where is the storm?
I was the same way. I was like, I think they got this one wrong.
Yeah. Usually you see clouds in the sky or whatever, but this thing was moving all by itself across the land, and you could see it on the radar. But, it's one of those things. And to Johnny's point about the people who were affected by this, man, there is a local morning radio host. I know her. Her name is Judy Diamond, and she works for KLOU. she did this remarkable video with some people who were directly affected by it. And on the other side of this, I want to play you that because you need to hear this and really see. You could really see. It's the first time I think I've really honestly seen or heard a really good, solid story about the way people have suffered in the wake of this tornado. You go to newstalkstl.com and you can find all kinds of resources if you are compelled to try and help people all around the area who've been affected by the tornadoes. I'll have that for you here. This is the Allman Report on this Friday before Memorial Day weekend. Jamie Allman here, happy to be with you, and we shall be back. This is Common Sense Radio.
Be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Clayton sleep. People, let me tell you something. Sleep is an important part of your life and should be, and it's an important part of your holistic life. It is an important part of your mental stability and your mood. It's an important part of your weight, if you can believe that. If you're not getting a lot of sleep, what's happening is your body is shutting down metabolically. So that means that you're trying to figure out, why am I gaining weight? What's going on? What's because you're not sleeping and your body isn't in its metabolistic mode. So that is a part of it. That is the holistic approach that Dr. Joe Ogile and the Clayton Sleep Institute take to everything that you need to make yourself happy and also rested. So if you have sleep apnea, Dr. Ogile has a plan for you. Whether you want to go to the boutique hotel like rooms that they have at their laboratories, and of course you have a night's sleep. Somebody monitors you all night long. They have people who work all night long monitoring you, and then they download everything, and then they have a plan for you, an action plan. They also have take-home apparatus for you, so you don't have to necessarily go to the laboratories. They also deal with insomnia. If you're kind of having that extra glass of whiskey or something just to get yourself to sleep, you might want to change it up a little bit and figure it out. Dr. Ogile will help you do that. Even helps little kids who can't get to sleep. You got a 2-year-old, you can't get to bed. He can help you with that as well. ClaytonSleep.com. Joe Ogile, a strong supporter and longtime supporter of free, common sense, conservative radio.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
As we pause to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom this Memorial Day, let us remember their courage and dedication.
Words cannot measure the depth of their devotion, the purity of their love, or the totality of their courage.
A reminder from local businesses who support our veterans. Freddy's Market in Webster Groves, Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions, Ray Ray's Kettle Corn, and from News Talk STL.
Hey, Tim Jones here. For 50 years, St. Louis homeowners have trusted one name with their outdoor dreams, Hydro Dynamics. From custom irrigation systems to stunning outdoor lighting, from expert drainage solutions to beautiful hardscapes, they transform ordinary yards into extraordinary dreamscapes with certified experts that work with you to bring your vision to life, delivering unparalleled service every step of the way. Ready to make your dreamscape a reality? Visit hydrodynamicscore.com. That's hydrodynamicscore.com.
Here's my problem.
completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are. And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Yeah. Good afternoon. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, privileged to be with you. Johnny over there at the pilot controls. And we're just talking off the air about, I heard that ad for Ray's kettle corn. I've never seen a place that is more well stocked with kettle corn than News Talk STL. There are, if all hell breaks loose and the world is collapsing and you all need kettle corn, come here because we've got bags and bags of it. So
I think that's just this week, and I can only come in on sometimes during the week, and it's always someone's birthday. So this place is junk food haven.
Yeah,
it's kind of bad. It's kind of bad for my someone with little self-restraint.
It's Joey V's and Tim Jones's birthday weekend, so we're kind of celebrating that with sweets. Why don't we ever celebrate birthdays with steak? I mean, you know what I mean? Like steak. Something like that.
I used to always go get a lobster on my birthday.
There you go. There you go.
You can keep the cake. I'll take a lobster and a lot of butter.
Right on, buddy. All right. So as I promised, this was sent to me by my friend Judy Diamond. She is the co-host of the morning show over there at KLOU. She and Billy Greenwood do a great show, and she is a former colleague of mine as well. So she sends me this video, and I've seen a lot of stories about the true suffering in the aftermath of that tornado that hit St. Louis. But I've never seen anything and heard anything that really just touched me so solidly than this little story that Judy Diamond did. I'm assuming she put it on TikTok or whatever, maybe even played it on the show, but she sent it to me. I'm sitting there listening to this, and it's a story involving one woman. She kind of found one woman in this neighborhood and got the full story of just how devastating this tornado ultimately was. And I'm going to play you the whole thing because it's 3 minutes and 15 seconds, which you'd think would be an eternity in radio, but it's not. In fact, I could have listened to this story for another hour, but I want you to listen to this. And I want you to hear about how so much in the way of faith and God and tragedy is infused into one to end with not necessarily a happier story, but a lighter, more peaceful view of the future in the aftermath of a tornado like this.
I couldn't. The suction, it was. I guess it was something. They said something about pressure, suction. It wouldn't. The door wouldn't open, so I just ran into the dining room and laid on the floor.
Yourself at this
Yes.
point? Oh my
All
God.
kind of debris was blowing in the house.
Get down. You're praying.
Praying to the Lord, please don't let me die. Please don't let me die, Lord Jesus.
You prayed to God.
Yes. The door opened and I went down the door. I went down the basement. I was like, how did the door get open? It wouldn't open when I was trying to open it. Well, the door opened and I ran. I don't know how that door got open.
I do.
God.
Yeah.
God. It was the Lord. It was the Lord Jesus. Yes, it was.
So you're in this house.
I'm in this house and my sister in here. And when it was over with, we both came outside, and we was like, "Ooh, that was a bad storm." But I didn't notice all this debris at first.
Okay.
I went back in. I was nervous. I called my son. He said, "I'm on my way home."
So he was driving during this.
He said he was dodging trees.
Oh my!
And so my sister said when she came up from the basement, she saw light, and she was like, "Why is all this light in my house?" And she noticed her whole wall was gone.
Was gone.
It was gone.
Was gone.
Our neighbor's house across the street, it took her whole house.
Unbelievable.
It took her whole house.
This is your whole neighborhood.
Yeah, I came moved here when I was 8 years old. 8 years old. I was gonna have to be torn down now. It's gone. Our family history is gone. That's the sad part about it.
That's it. Can't get that back.
We can't get it back. We can't get it back. Our family history is gone. Sad. We were all a community.
Yeah.
Now we all got to separate.
Oh, honey. No.
We'll be living in different places. We won't be together on the same street anymore. The people here we grew up with, and one of the daughters kept the house. Her mother she's 80-something years old. She was trapped in the basement.
Did she get out?
They got her out. She was calling for help, and they went around to the back of the house and got her out. A lady over there, Miss Holmes, Lois Holmes, her house crushed her. My grandson and one of her sons and my nephew pulled her out. RN that lived up the street, she gave her CPR, and then I took over and gave her CPR, but she didn't make it. She passed away.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain to people what you've been through and what you need. This is a grieving community. So let's help each other out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You gotta help out here, okay? Lives that were ruined, this whole community. What Wanda was saying, this is a community that's now separated, and imagine that if that was your family, your neighborhood.
Wow. And then ends with a sign that says STL is strong as hell. And this very moving kind of deep dive into the experience, not only of one person, but also of an entire neighborhood. And for that matter, an entire family, people who are related, etc. And one thing I think that you realize too, I think this was not necessarily Judy's intention, but it was certainly an achievement, and is giving us a look at what North St. Louis is. So a lot of people think North St. Louis is just a bunch of bombed out houses and a bunch of abandoned houses, that kind of thing. And you realize through this story that a lot of people who live in North St. Louis, she's talked about living there since she was 8 years old. So there are legacies of families that have lived in North St. Louis for decades. And that tornado destroyed that fabric, that foundation, and the future for them. And that's a big deal. I mean, we do hear a lot of stories in the aftermath of these events, and the human element of that, I think, was captured beautifully in this video. I think you could probably follow Judy on TikTok and see it for yourself if you want to see it. But this is the kind of thing, I think these are the kinds of stories that need to be told. And also, of course, the underlying theme is faith in God and Jesus, and as a hopeful part of the story, which of course, trust in God to not only protect you. Doesn't always happen because God is not here. He's up there, and he is within the hearts of people. And that's how God loves to operate, loves to be needed, you know. So this is a great story. And I remember when I worked at Channel 4 and I was doing stories about crime, and specifically back in the early 90s when they were trying to get a hold of the gangs. They were trying to disrupt the gangs there. And I remember doing a story about the Rand Avenue Crips. And part of the story being told about crime in St. Louis was how it was affecting people, even like this woman, but these people had been living there for generations in North St. Louis. There was a movement from North St. Louis that was predominantly Jewish, and you had Soldan High and Beaumont and those kinds of places. And then everybody, the Jewish people moved out, Black people moved in, and that's how the transition happened. But they've been there for decades. And so I think one of the charms of this story being told by Judy is that you also familiarize yourself with the fact that real people and real families and faithful people and faithful families live in North St. Louis, in the city of St. Louis, which makes, of course, the deep dive into responsibility for their safety, taking care of them, all the more important. And as I open the show, I don't think it revolves around only one person, Sarah, they, them. It involves everybody. And I would encourage the mayor and the people at the fire department with the button that didn't work to take responsibility as well. Because throwing this chick under the bus for most people with common sense doesn't really work. We all know that it wasn't one woman who was responsible for the fact that there were people who were left vulnerable by all of that. And of course, everybody knows too that we all kind of have responsibility to take care of ourselves. And sometimes even sirens don't cause people to just simply protect themselves either. So it's not only sirens that are supposed to be saving people. I mean, there is some personal responsibility on that side, but at the same time, though, it would have helped. And I think that it is not serving the public very well just to simply take a scalp and write it off and move on, because there's got to be a larger take on the responsibility of this, and that would include the mayor, and that would include the higher-ups in the St. Louis City Fire Department. And, yeah, it would help if indeed the hours were not 9 to 5 with the emergency management. That's a new one. But I think that Sarah, in her news conference, planted that because that was not her responsibility, setting those hours. So somebody else is part of this. And I just hope that in a mature way, the city of St. Louis deals with this as opposed to just taking down a usual suspect, so to speak. So great story, Judy. Thanks for sharing it. This is Common Sense Radio. This is the Allman Report on this lovely Friday. Thank you all for listening to the show. NPR has some advice for you as we move in to this. Don't pay attention to the fallen. Start to think about global warming and climate change this weekend. That's the take from taxpayer-funded NPR. You're welcome. It's Common Sense Radio.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Well, was just recommending somebody. I work in the real estate business, as you know, and somebody was looking for somebody for windows. And I said, well, you got to go to Window World, the best for less, the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues, and, of course, the preferred window of millions of people around the country, as recognized by Qualified Remodeler magazine. And they're only one of 2 windows in the nation that are getting the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. They have a great financing plan for you that is 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. And I got to tell you, these windows, they're hugely durable. They will come to your house and show you how durable they are. They'll bring a window with them. You can ask the person to stand on it and it won't break. They are double paned, which means they are also strong, but also have a really good track record of insulation. Yes, indeed. That means that you're not going to be cooling the outside or warming the outside in the wintertime with these decrepit windows. These are excellent windows, strong as oxes, and the best for less. 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800. Window World, simply the best for less.
Tim Jones here. Being a recovering lawyer, don't call me for your legal needs, but you should call Todd Sivia and the fine folks at Sivia Law. At Sivia Law, they'll help you through all of life's transitions, providing you with legal services in the areas of estate planning, elder law, special needs, real estate, personal injury, and much more. Locations across Western Illinois and Eastern Missouri, including right here in Creve Coeur and Wentzville. Call Sivia Law today for any and all of your legal needs. 833-995-WILL, SiviaLaw.com, SiviaLaw.com.
We've been here 30 years. 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right, nice, soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
Just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
Tired of floors that don't stand up to real life? Hometown Floors has the solution. With 40 years of experience, they know floors. 100% made in the USA. Luxury vinyl, laminate carpet, pet-friendly, and built to last. Free in-home estimates, professional installation, and satisfaction guaranteed. Hometown Floors, making small business great again. Check us out at hometownfloorsonline.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Well, it's officially happened. The House has passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, and we've got Congressman Bob Onder on at 420 to share what happened during those late night discussions.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report on News Talk STL. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Nothing so loud. Hearing when we lie, truth is not kind. And you said neither am I. And yeah, outside so soft, saying everything.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you, your reflections on the last 40 minutes or so, and what you have to say about what's been going on in the aftermath of the storms, or whatever you want to talk about. If you have a special Memorial Day thought, then let her rip here on the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here with you, Johnny over there. And speaking of Memorial Day, so leave it to NPR to actually do a story where they're encouraging people to reflect on the effects of climate change while they're grilling. And I'm thinking to myself, well, first of all, I don't know. Sometimes you think about grilling and smoke and charcoal, and I'm sure there are people out there who believe that somehow grilling is bad for the environment. But we do know, as a matter of fact, and this is the science, that climate change that is influenced by man is negligible, that the carbon imprint of man, while it is sizable, still has not affected the world and weather and everything else. Basic living has. Development along seawalls and that kind of thing has. We all know that. We all know that humans, through their physical actions, can sometimes change the trajectory, but they don't really necessarily change the sky. And we also know that electric cars, if every car in America became electric, the effect on the carbon output of the United States of America would be like 0.003 of a reduction. So even if everything was electric, it still wouldn't have an effect. The Earth is not unlike the human body. It has a remarkable ability to repair itself and recover in many different ways. Oftentimes, they haven't really looked at the effects of, let's say, a hurricane, or for that matter, a tornado, and they think the devastation is only because of the power created by climate change, when actually it's just people are living in places where they weren't living before. So you're gonna have that. That's what's going to happen. Homestead was a great example of that hurricane in Florida a while back, and that was simply there were a lot of people in places where they weren't 50 years ago. So you're going to get that kind of devastation. Building codes and the way people build and that kind of thing also affects it. So anyway, NPR decided to do this story, and really this is more of a print story on its website. And they have the introduction of so-called echo chaplains. And these are chaplains that help people deal with climate grief. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have a whole lot of space in my life for climate grief. Like that, I've enough problems, right, Johnny? We have enough things that we have to deal with. Climate grief is obviously something that you have the time for and the luxury to delve into. I guarantee you, all the people that Judy talked to in North St. Louis, even before the tornado, probably were not thinking about climate grief. They were probably thinking about how they were going to fill their car with gas for the weekend. You know, those kinds of things. So climate grief is a luxury item for pretty much only people who
That's
listen
the
to
new
NPR.
one to me. Is, I grew up with the hole in the ozone layer. So climate grief, that's where we're at now. We've gone hole in the ozone layer to global warming. They were like, well, actually, it's not getting warmer, so we'll call it climate change.
Yeah, right.
And now we're at climate grief. Dude, this is horrible. That's it. I'm driving off in the abyss now.
And it's not only grief, Johnny, it's also anger and depression, according to NPR.
That's one of the stages of climate grief, right?
Feeling that it may be too late to save a planet in deep peril. Now, keep in mind, as a lot of people think that conservatives don't really care about the climate or about the environment. That absolutely is not true. President Trump, in fact, appointed RFK Jr. as the Health and Human Services Secretary, who actually for a while there was dismissed wholeheartedly over his climate problems with climate change and everything else. But still, he is an environmentalist on a lot of different fronts, and that would also be included in food we ingest and other kinds of things that are going on, things that cause disease, that kind of thing. Those are the things that are probably most important in the end.
To counter that point too, like I'm an outdoorsman. The majority of people who are outdoorsmen are I'm not going to say this, that's pulling this out of thin air. The majority of those people lean right.
Yeah,
right. And, you find those so, I mean, we're not trying to hear the left's version of climate change, but we're aware, we're out there.
Yeah, I mean,
we're in it.
You're more concerned about a dirty trout than some climate change activists.
Absolutely 100%.
I mean, you're more concerned about clean water or whatever else it is.
I get it. I like it because when you said that, I feel climate grief. I do when I go to places and I see the trash and and I see what's been done to a beautiful place or the disrespect that humans have done.
Mm-hmm.
That's my climate grief.
Yeah. People concerned with climate grief, some of them might be the same people who leave the McDonald's bags in the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? Instead of throwing them in the trash.
Yeah, empty your ashtray out right there too while we're at it.
Exactly. It's one of those things. And to the other degree, though, which I think is really important for people to note, is that big bad Richard Nixon, you know what he did? He created the Department of Conservation. I know that you being an outdoorsman know that sometimes those Department of Conservation guys are.
Yeah, as a guy with a libertarian bent too, when law enforcement comes up and wants to tell you who could do what, where,
right? Yeah,
within the rules. I mean, I understand the rule, but sometimes, I mean,
it's not like, when they're talking about how you can't take this many pheasant or that many deer, it's not like you're over hunting buffalo. It's kind of like, and of course, people also know that deer hunting is an excellent conservation tool.
It's needed.
It's absolutely needed. And because I guarantee you, those of you who live in certain areas know that if we weren't deer hunters, the deer would be in your backyard eating you out of house and home.
Well, remember when the richest zip code around here had to bring in the sharpshooters?
I know.
You know,
was it Town and Country or
yeah,
something?
because they were sick of them eating their plants and tearing up the landscaping.
Yeah, right. So this is the NPR story. The Echo Chaplain is a 21st century invention. Of course it is. I'm glad they admitted it's an invention too, but I don't think they meant that. And while no one knows exactly how many there are, chaplaincy experts agree. By the way,
what?
Who's a chaplaincy expert? I'd like to know.
Isn't a chaplain a religious?
Yeah. Well, of course, and of course they're co-opting religion. Even though
I see what they did there. They just go ahead and they're just taking the mask off and saying it is the cult of climate change.
Exactly.
And this is your priest.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
God, I'm following.
You're a chaplain. You're a chaplain. So, chaplaincy experts agree that the number is likely less than 100. There is no universally recognized Echo chaplaincy training. Of course there wouldn't be. Man, in this first paragraph, they're admitting that this is all bullcrap. It's kind of funny how they don't even realize they're talking themselves out of the truth. It's pretty crazy. There is no universally recognized Echo chaplaincy training as there is for other kinds of chaplaincy. But a number of organizations offer training from Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, and secular perspectives. Today, there are chaplains working in the intersection of climate, grief, and spirituality in the United States.
There's that intersectionality. There we go.
Yeah. And apparently, I don't even know, and they still don't have any information in their story about how you would contact an Echo chaplain.
I need an eco exorcism. Can you please call me an eco chaplain?
There's a co-facilitator with a place called the BTS Center. It's a nonprofit in Portland, Maine, that looks at climate change through a spiritual lens. I guess that's where you'd find a chaplain. But apparently, either Echo chaplains are running around and just bothering people, or people are seeking them out or whatever. I think if you guys want to create, a side gig, a side hustle, I would think you'd want to put out an ad for yourself as an Echo chaplain so you can come and talk to somebody who is experiencing grief, anger, and depression over the possibility of our planet going away. Our planet's not going to go away. It's never going to go away. And are we going to someday maybe colonize Mars or something like that? Maybe. But you think the US is hot. you think global warming is bad here? Try experiencing the temperatures on Mars and see how that goes. How that goes for you. I mean, it's that kind of thing. So that's NPR's assignment for you, or the weirdos who don't want to, who want to be dragged kicking and screaming from honoring the fallen to bother themselves with. I mean, you talk about, I say that we deal, if you're going to do anything, deal with people who are dealing with grief, anger, and depression, who have PTSD. How does that sound? That would be a good way to honor those who have served and fallen as well. So that's probably a better idea for Veterans Day, but still, NPR has an assignment for you. And man, you got to hear this. Some dude went to a city council meeting and called the mayor of Chicago a racist to his face. You got to hear this. This is Common Sense Radio. Happy Friday.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers, sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at midnight in Rock Hill.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too, until I called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day, something new.
No one else is really talking about this. I'm glad you're fired up about it, too. Trump's doing the right thing. There's so many issues.
It's over.
I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you. You're one of the sweetest guys in the world for a guy who's so bad on politics.
101.9 and 94.1.
Your platform is really, really important to us.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. With passage of President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill in the House this week, focus now turning to the U.S. Senate. On the Salem News program, this week on Capitol Hill with Tony Perkins. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the legislation managed to reach a consensus among various congressional factions.
There were some good innovations. Everyone had a voice. And in the end, we have a product that we can really be proud of. It's truly historic in its scope. And I've said probably the most consequential legislation that Congress has passed in many generations, and maybe I think in maybe the top 2 or 3 measures of all time. I mean, really, it's going to be absolutely essential to get this done.
Speaker Johnson warns that the Senate needs to not make any major changes so President Trump's legislative priorities can reach his desk as quickly as possible. His complete interview on This Week on Capitol Hill will be rebroadcast beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time Saturday on the Salem News Channel. Also at townhall.com, the investigation continues after 2 Israeli embassy staffers were shot while leaving a young diplomat's reception at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington. FBI Assistant Director in Charge Stephen Jensen with details about the suspect.
Make no mistake, this attack was targeted anti-Semitic violence, and it won't be tolerated. These significant charges are a step towards restoring justice for the victims and their families. But our work is not done. The FBI will continue to pursue all leads.
A Chicago man, 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez, has been charged with first-degree murder. The 2 that were killed, Sarah Milgram, a 26-year-old American from Kansas, and Yaron Lachinsky, a 30-year-old Israeli citizen, were to be engaged. On Wall Street, the Dow dropping 133 points and the NASDAQ Composite losing 113. More at townhall.com.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at SerenityLTC.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Not a bad start to the holiday weekend. It looks partly to mostly cloudy. We'll see increasing clouds through the day. The high temperature in the low 70s today. And a few showers picking up west and south of St. Louis this evening and overnight tonight, and maybe leading into Saturday morning, but mainly dry on Saturday and a high in the low 70s. But that rain chance does pick up on Sunday and Monday, and it looks like below normal temperatures, too. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colony.
Sweet, I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer. Let's party!
Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888 to learn more about our special $67 offer.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hey, News Talk STL listeners, this is Levi, CEO of Reach Reproductive Health. There was a huge gap left when the biggest pregnancy center in St. Louis had to close their doors right after Amendment 3. But by God's grace and power, Reach has been able to step into that space. We have acquired Thrive centers and are continuing operations in greater St. Louis. I have a request for you. Would you pray and consider getting to know Reach more? We are here to see babies saved and families transformed by the power of Christ. Get to know us on our Reach community website, outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. You're listening to the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Friday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here. Johnny is over there. Here's Johnny filling in for Stal. And so we've got D.C. It is Executive Order Palooza there. Let's check in at the White House as
You'll follow him up. Yes, sir. And we're going to have Pete Hegseth speak from a military standpoint, but this is very all-inclusive. We're signing tremendous executive orders.
Of course, Will
today
Scharf
really
is
make us the real
Missouri's own Will Scharf is the guy that always hands him the executive orders. He explains them.
Thank you, President Trump. This is a huge day for the nuclear industry. Mark this day on your calendar. This is going to turn the clock back on over 50 years of over-regulation of an industry. American greatness has always come from innovation, and we were very innovative. We led post-World War II in all things nuclear, but then we've been stagnated. We've choked it with over-regulation. Today, Will is going to walk us through a series of 4 executive orders. Each of these help
and this is super important because this is going to result in the rise of more of a reliance on nuclear energy, and that's a big deal because as war on coal and everything else continues, although not for long.
We've got startups coming into all aspects with small modular nuclear, and we've also got an EO that's talking about the importance of us having a secure supply chain of being able to get that fuel load here in the United States as opposed from foreign sources. This has impacts on national security, on our defense.
By the way, make sure you look for the news tonight as you'll see visuals of Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island. That's all you'll see.
to win
when they cover the
AI arms
rise
race
of
with China.
nuclear energy.
What we do in the next 5 years related to electricity is going to determine the next 50, because this is the first time in history where electricity can be translated into intelligence. And we need that intelligence for every aspect of our economy, but also for defense. Pete Hegseth in the Department of Defense has been a key part of this, and this is going to help us make sure that we're providing the defense we need, where we need that AI, need the electricity, but also to secure our bases here at home and around the world. Secretary?
Sure, I'll just add to that before going to Will. Energy security is national security. If we don't have reliable energy for our basing, for our troops, whether forward deployed or domestically, we're vulnerable. So by having small modular nuclear capabilities, which are rapidly being fielded, that we can use on our bases here and around the world, we're creating an environment where if things happen elsewhere, the military can be relied upon. Also, we're including artificial intelligence in everything we do. If we don't, we're not fast enough. We're not keeping up with adversaries. You need the energy to fuel it. Nuclear is a huge part of that, modular or otherwise. So we're going to have the lights on and AI operating when others do not, faster than everybody else because of nuclear capability. So this is a big game changer for us as well.
And we're also talking about the big plants, the very, very big, the biggest. We're going to be doing them also, but we're going to start off a little bit. I think a focus today is the smaller module, but included in this group, we're also doing big plants where needed. They won't be needed too much, but they'll literally be able to do an entire state. And you've read a lot about cost overruns in a couple of states that were pretty significant, but we're not going to have cost overruns. And the technology's come a long way, both in safety and cost and everything else. Would a couple of you guys like to talk about your companies and you want to say anything?
Joe, why don't you kick it off?
Sure. My name is Joe Dominguez. I run Constellation Energy. We have about 25% of the nation's fleet. We're the largest publicly traded nuclear company in the world. We're in the middle of a merger with Calpine, and once completed, we will be the largest electric producing company in the world. About enough power to produce, to cover all of Mexico, actually.
I didn't know that. Well, we talked, you were so modest. I can't believe it.
That's normally not said about me, Mr. President.
I'm very impressed. Go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, what's happening is a really super significant development in not only nuclear energy, but also in the effort to reduce your electric bills and your utility bills. And that's what ultimately this is going to do. How nice and refreshing that we're seeing companies that actually produce electricity in a safe and clean way. I think coal is another way to do it too. And I think that merging of those two will be great. But isn't it so nice to see us putting our efforts towards relying on proven methods of electricity delivery and everything else, instead of Obozo giving a bunch of grants to people making solar panels? And you remember Solyndra, right? Biden did the same thing with another company. Both of them went straight to hell because there was no appetite for not only solar panels. I know a lot of people do use them sometimes, but also they're prohibitively expensive. And so it's just so great to see this administration putting its resources and deregulatory resources towards proven companies that are producing electricity. And this idea, and it was never science-based, of overregulating our nuclear industry just because of past situations. But I guarantee you the way this is going to be posited on all the newscasts and everything else is I guarantee you, I wish we could play a drinking game or something for every time we see a picture of 3 Mile Island, because that's what they will be doing. They'll talk to somebody and you know what? They'll probably they'll be covering this just probably to avoid having to cover the reality of the racist, bigoted murder of those 2 Israeli embassy staffers. And so they'll focus on this. They'll probably by the time Monday rolls around or whatever, they'll go back to 3 Mile Island and they'll interview people about the dangers of nuclear power plants and everything else. And that's how they'll do it, because they just don't want anything but the green revolution. And this is a really good way of derailing the green revolution and going back to common sense. So this is a big deal today regarding nuclear energy and deregulating the government regulation of nuclear power plants and nuclear energy. And so that's how it's going to work. These guys, again, it's very refreshing to see people who actually have proven companies and proven success in electricity delivery, and instead of a bunch of people with their pie in the sky hands out for money for something that isn't proven and that in fact is proven to have failed in the past. It's funny how Biden didn't learn a lesson and didn't want to about the failure of simply dumping billions of dollars into these solar panel companies only to have them fail. And Solyndra was a famous one. And most of those people who were involved in Solyndra are right now living in gigantic beach homes after going bankrupt and everything else, and taking the money and running. And this clearly isn't going to happen. So let's go back there and see what's happening really quickly there, Johnny. No auto pen there.
We have one more for you here, sir. This doesn't directly relate to nuclear energy, but it's on a similar subject. This executive order is entitled Restoring Gold Standard Science. One of the issues that we've had in recent decades is that government policy has been made on the back of junk science, scientific studies and findings that have included conflicts of interest or scientific misconduct. The purpose of this executive order is to recenter policymaking around gold standard science, scientific efforts that have followed appropriate scientific methods that don't include those sorts of conflicts of interest, and to ensure that when departments and agencies are relying on scientific studies to promulgate rules, to promulgate regulations, that the science that they're relying on is highly reliable and available to the public.
He did a very good job, didn't he?
He did.
How many people here could have done that? I don't know. I think a lot. Thanks. Good job, Will.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Is that it?
That's all we have for you now, sir.
Do you have any questions for these brilliant people? They are brilliant people, actually.
Mr. President, on nuclear, sir, a lot of the concern over the years that's helped the nuclear industry back has been about safety. Are you satisfied with those safety concerns?
Yeah, we are. It's become it's become very safe.
Yeah.
And
So the first question, of course, is about the safety of it and everything else. Well, at least the first question wasn't about the Qatari jet, though, right? So the news people seem to be maturing past the Qatari jet, and again are asking about that's their first thing about safety concerns. I guarantee they're just going to menace communities everywhere across the country now after this executive order signing. Here you go.
Nobody's ever seen before, so it's safe. And we're going to do a lot of the small ones, and we're going to do some of the big ones. But yeah, very safe and clean.
And on this,
Let's keep it on this for a little while. Let's keep it on the nuclear, and then if you want to ask something else, which you might, we'll do that.
On nuclear, Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
What did you say to folks who are concerned that speeding up licensing or even doing fuel processing raises safety and proliferation?
There you go. Okay, so you get the picture here. That's all it's about. Is going to be how unsafe nuclear energy is and all that nonsense. And it's that those are the lie. I mean, I'm no genius. A monkey could have come to the determination that would be the absolute reflexive response of the news media to all this. Because it's helping people. It's helping us peasants. So of course the news media doesn't want to talk about it or cover it or whatever. So this is just there's your divide there. People who just don't live a real life versus people who are living a real life and allowing us to live a real life. Let's see what the next question is about here.
I've been saying to everybody, they've treated us very badly over the years. It was formed in order to hurt the United States, in order to.
Oh, okay. They're onto the European Union. Okay. And so hopefully Secretary Burgum, after hearing several people correctly pronounce nuclear, maybe he'll learn that it's not nuclear. So who knows? We'll see here the next time he starts.
There's that clip in The Simpsons. Homer goes, honey, it's nuclear.
G.W. Bush used to bother me about that. I feel like I don't want to be some.
I think that's where I got it from too, because when I heard him say it, I was like, huh? What?
I know.
Huh?
I mean, I think sometimes people think it's being picky, but it really isn't. But I'm not going to go overboard on it. But there is no extra U in nuclear. There's just not. And there's not. And so, you can't just like add a letter to something. And I don't know how that ever happens.
Tell the British about aluminum then.
Yeah. Well, and G.W. Bush used to say nuclear. And I'm like, ugh, it sounds so dumb, but maybe not. I don't know. It's just one of those things where you're just kind of in this mode where you're just making fun of him. It's fine. I mean, it's okay. He's doing a good job, so I'll leave him alone. All right, this is Common Sense Radio. Jamie Allman here, Johnny over there. Happy Friday to all of you. I hope you were planning to have a wonderful, blessed Memorial Day, and I know what you're thinking about, so I don't need to tell you. I need to wag my finger at people about the proper way to commemorate Memorial Day because we know how we do it. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Proctor spelled like doctor. Doctor. There's no extra O or U in doctor. It's Proctor spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. And I will tell you that Michael is a great guy. And let me tell you something. He comes at a fantastic value. So a lot of people who are doing window treatments, I'm talking about plantation shutters, drapes, whatever it happens to be, they have the Roman shades and he has the motorized shades and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people who are doing the home improvement in that way with window treatments ongoing, usually sometimes hire like a interior designer before they even talk to somebody about window treatments. Well, Michael Proctor is an interior designer. He's your interior designer. He is your presenter of all your options. So he has all that kind of stuff, procuring all your options. And he's also the installer. So he doesn't farm out the installation to another company. That's how really dedicated Michael is to quality and making sure you're happy and making sure that the buck always stops with him and nobody else, because he takes great pride in his materials and great pride in his expertise, great pride in his prices, and he also has a mobile design unit that you're absolutely going to love. This mobile design unit comes directly to your door with all the samples you need so you can see it all in living color in your house. Michael's a hard worker, dedicated to quality, dedicated to value for you, and dedicated certainly to price. That fits into the whole value quotient as well. Proctor Drapery, ProctorDrapery.com. Proctor spelled like doctor.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Defco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, I don't know about you, but I love learning about national and international issues here on News Talk STL. But do you know what's going on in your neck of the woods, your city, your county, and its politics? If you live in Jefferson County and want to know more about what's happening locally, join Speaker Tim Jones and me, Councilman Billy Crow, as we dive into all things Jefferson County on Sundays at high noon on Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Defco Patriot Radio.
On News Talk STL, St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and thunder-stealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Good old Eddie Money, Johnny.
Former New York City police officer Eddie Money.
Yeah, right on, man. I have a great story about Eddie Money. So when I was a kid, I forgot her name. I wish I knew her name. She's very pretty. She was older than I was. I was only 15 at the time. I think she was like 17, 16, so she could drive.
I had one of those too. Where's this story going?
Well,
that sounds good.
It's going to an Eddie Money concert. That's where it's going.
Oh, nice.
Uh-huh. So
2 tickets to an Eddie Money concert.
Yeah. So, but she had to drive because I couldn't drive.
Cool.
So that was kind of cool. And she was a sweetheart. And so I don't know whether it happened to her or how anything went down on that. I don't know. I think I was scared of her a little bit because she was older and, she was a little bit hot to try.
Yeah,
you know
no, when I was in the same, I was 15, had a 17-year-old girlfriend. She had a car. She kind of made a man out of me, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know whether I was really ready for that or whether that was the reason that it went away. I don't know. I was of no use to her anymore, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, we went to see Eddie Money and Angel. I believe this was at the
Name a
arena.
song other than The Tower.
I don't know. But it was Eddie Money and Angel. I do believe it was at the I think it was at the arena. And I'm pretty sure it was. And I actually remember being there. And the Angel, this is when like Angel would come out of the stage, like from the bottom of the stage in these boxes. So through
a trap door.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were the opening act for Eddie Money. So it was really kind of cool because they had the stage and I think they had like 3 little trap door things. And all 3 of the guys, or maybe it was 2, I can't remember, but they all came out of the stage in these boxes and all kinds of explosions and smoke. And then, they came out, explosive smoke came out, but then the smoke revealed the guys from Angel. That's only one song, right? I didn't even listen to Angel, but
that's the only song I know is The Tower. I couldn't name another one.
Yeah. And Eddie Money was good. So I was 15.
Now that's hits. Now that guy's got hits.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. He was good too, man.
I wanted to see him when he came to one of the casinos, I guess, before. He's dead now, right?
Yeah.
He came to one of the casinos and I heard he had his daughter. It's like she would do backups. And I wanted to see him, but I didn't want to drag myself. I think it was River City. I
think there was a festival. That was like a Keishi festival or something where he came. I remember getting my picture taken with him outside his trailer. And he was lit too.
He looked like the type to imbibe.
He was lit, and it was fun. But it was some kind of music festival at Jefferson Barracks Park or something like that. I think. Yeah, it was about as fun as going to the Fox High School one day. It was in 2013 to go see George Jones and in concert. And so I went there with the entire team from my show, and that was his concert there. But there are a lot of older people there.
I mean, his peak was 80s,
yeah,
right? Like early 80s country, yeah.
But and 70s too. But I had to see him because George Jones is kind of like my Elvis, which is how I wound up at his funeral in Nashville. Because
story's taking all kinds of turns.
Well, one day I was on the air and I was playing some George Jones. I said, if he ever passes away, I'm going to his funeral. He died the next day.
So you killed George Jones.
I know. Well, somebody was saying, don't ever say that about me. I hope you don't ever say that about me. So I wound up going to his funeral, which is actually really cool. Kid Rock was there, and it was awesome because he and Kid Rock were friends, And so anyway, we went down to Fox, but that was the weekend. So we went down there. I think it was a Friday night or something. At my house, we were drinking margaritas, and I didn't realize a couple of things. First of all, we took a limo down there, and Max Foisey was the producer at the time, had arranged everything. And I didn't know that Max Foisey purposely arranged that we'd be like an hour late because he didn't want to sit through an entire George Jones concert. So he kind of timed it so we were an hour late. But we were drinking margaritas, and then I didn't realize that I had the tequila and margarita mix. But I didn't realize that the margarita mix already had alcohol in it.
Oh, you messed up.
So we were drinking some high octane tequilas.
Oh, I just shivered at the thought of it.
Margaritas. And so by the time we wound up at Fox High School and walked into the auditorium,
it was 12-minute limo ride too, probably, right?
Yeah. And we were like loud, and I just remember kind of being a little bit embarrassing, but we were up in one of those little boxes or whatever. And I think we were probably inappropriately loud and shouldn't have been, but that was a good concert though. George Jones was awesome. And then we met him outside afterwards from his tour bus, and he was stone cold sober though. It's a long day away from him being the possum and never showing up for concerts and things like that. All right. This was interesting. So you thought in Chicago that nobody could be worse than Beetlejuice, the mayor, right? You thought nobody could be worse than that woman who was the mayor of Chicago. She took so much grief. She was such a horse's rear end and really annoying, gaslighting, a little racist herself, but not as racist as Brandon Johnson, the guy who took over for her. I mean, this guy is so bad for Chicago. And of course, Chicagoans who are a lot of black Chicagoans were very, very upset about his sanctuary city policies and everything else. And he just ignored them. Those were the Chicagoans who were wearing MAGA hats and everything else. These were black people in Chicago who were all in on Donald Trump and his immigration policies. And this guy didn't get it. So here he is deciding he's going to have a temper tantrum after the Department of Justice started probing his racially based hiring. So this wasn't about affirmative action. He was purposely hiring blacks only. And of course, that absolutely is a violation. And I realize that some people like Brandon Johnson believe that black people cannot be racist. Only white people can be racist. And so he had a temper tantrum about President Trump going after him.
As far as, the president's animus towards women, people of color, working people, we have always known who he has been. And this is not a surprise. He's a monster. Period.
Yeah. No, actually, Brandon, you're a monster. And it took a citizen of Chicago to stand before him and tell him to his face what a monster he is. This is a person at one of the city council meetings.
Real Chicagoans woke up this morning relieved that the Department of Justice is finally investigating your race hustle. As someone who grew up on the south side of Chicago, I've heard a lot of race hustlers in my life, trust me, but they were usually marching around outside of City Hall, which is what makes this so embarrassing and dangerous. Very, very dangerous to the city of Chicago.
Okay, we need the question.
I'm more than happy to ask this question. It's long overdue. For over a year, real Chicagoans, white and black, have been telling me that your black power rhetoric is bringing the city backwards from a place that
we need the question
had overcome. You want the question?
Please.
Real Chicagoans want to know, why are you a racist?
Oh, it's really good. But it keeps going on here.
Well, first of all, I reject the idea and the premise that somehow that's an actual legitimate question.
Want that?
Well, and he's going to follow up and say, well, no, this it is a legitimate question because you're on the record as being a racist. Yeah.
It ended in a question mark, too. That's really the only thing that makes it a legitimate question, right?
Right, exactly.
All right, we're going to go to the next one. Alice?
The next question, my follow-up question is a businessman, Robert Gomez, had his riverfront restaurant license yanked. You said that the reason you hire black people is because they're the most generous race on the planet. His riverfront restaurant license was yanked and given to a black restaurateur. That has, once again, reinforced the belief among real Chicagoans, white and black and Mexican, that you are a racist. What do you say to those people?
Again, I reject the premise that somehow that your question has any legitimacy.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, right. So he just doesn't answer the question. And this time what happens is the follow-up question, this guy's coming with receipts. And that's with, of course, the story about Mr. Gomez and his business and completely being trumped out and nixed out by Brandon Johnson's focus on so-called black power. Now, keep in mind, Brandon Johnson, the reason why this became a thing is because Brandon Johnson was at a church and he said that the black people are more generous than white people are. So that's why he did
it. Detractors that will push back on me and say, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet.
Wow. I mean, really. And if that were a white person saying that about white people, while at the same time shutting out black people, that would be headline news everywhere. And this guy's the mayor of a major city. It's unbelievable.
I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are. And so business and economic neighborhood development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure, deputy mayor is a black woman.
Hey, he's basically just admitting that he's a complete racist in his hiring. But keep in mind the mindset of somebody and the mind that somebody has to have where they actually think that what they're saying, and then when they're saying something like that, that's a good thing and not a bad thing. So you've got to be really not only racist, you've got to have zero care. I mean, you give 0 Fs about what anybody thinks about it. And more cynically, what this is, it's a desire for him to consolidate power with certain groups of people, black people who still support him, in order to deflect from his terrible running of the city of Chicago. So this is where he's going to go, is he's going to delve into this and decide he's going to consolidate the power among him and his fellow racists.
Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Budget Director is a black woman. Senior Advisor is a black man.
Of course, the Department of Justice is taking notes, and thank you. We don't need to do an interview anymore to go after you on civil rights violations.
And I'm laying that out because when you ask, how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this guy, I was going to say he's has some balls,
right
but
there,
he's
right?
admitting everything right there. I mean, he's basically saying, and again, he's laying it out there that I am specifically hiring people of a certain race over other people of other races because I believe the black race is superior.
You ever seen the size of the Hispanic community in Chicago too?
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm a white dude, but I was like, you ain't got no Hispanics
I
on your
know.
staff? Like, oh, okay.
I know.
Like, okay.
Well, that's the thing too about individuals who suffer the most from this kind of bigotry, and it's usually other minority populations, not really necessarily white people. It's other minority populations. As that one person who was in the follow-up question talked to Mr. Gomez. Mr. Gomez is not a white dude; he's a Hispanic guy. So that's always what happens in these situations where the people that suffer the most at the hands of this kind of bigotry,
or their own people, or even their own people.
Yep. But it's certainly really not as much white people as it is people of other, like Asians and Hispanics, all who make up a great deal of the
Depends on
population.
what day we're talking about. The Asians, you know, they get from the left, they get applied sometimes as white people,
yeah, right.
sometimes not as white people. So they got, and I have an Asian girlfriend, so you know, sometimes it says, sorry, babe, this one's, you got to sit this one out today. You're white people today. I'm sorry.
That's crazy, man. Well, remember the Trayvon Martin case, and
that dude was a Latino, right? George.
Yeah.
What was his
Zimmerman?
Zimmerman.
Yeah. But he was white though for the purposes of the news media.
Yeah, his last name sounded white, but then when you know, like, when you looked at, you like, well, that guy's clearly Hispanic.
Yeah.
You know,
and maybe not purely Hispanic, but they made it. But for the purposes of the news media,
to make a point to that, what's the last name of the Mexican president?
Oh yeah, Feinstein or something.
Right. So,
I know.
So there you go.
I
Like,
know.
you know, that doesn't. If you told me her name, I'd be like, huh?
I still don't get that though. I haven't delved into that, but I was going to a long time
Stop
ago.
noticing things, Jamie. You need to knock it off.
What's her name, like Fish Bomb or something? I can't remember. I was going to try to figure out how to track that and figure out how that came about. But I think it's pretty funny. But yeah, you'd think. And by the way, it's really cool that Mexicans voted for her, even though she really didn't have a Hispanic last name. You know, it's like
she doesn't even seem to have their Catholic, values.
I know.
It even matter.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's crazy. But yeah, Zimmerman was and for the purposes of Obama, Zimmerman was white. It was like how they utilize it. It's a pretty crazy world, people, and we're just living in it apparently. And it's Brandon Johnson's world, and we're just living in it. Let's go, Brandon. Yeah, all right. This is Common Sense Radio. Happy Friday before Memorial Day. Fancy Friday. Doug Giles has already notified me that he's on vacay, so he's not going to be with us, but that's okay. It's still a fancy Friday, even without Doug Giles, so we'll catch up with him next week. This is Common Sense Radio.
It's Friday.
The left, for months now,
one by one,
have been begging for a civil war.
every caller gets their say.
We got to stop and not put these officers in situations where they feel like they have to overreact.
And whether you agree
We have to assume some responsibility because I'm a black man.
or disagree,
I think you're politically wrong.
I do not need athletes to tell me.
you're invited to join the conversation.
Thank you for canceling all your games. Now I get it.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here, inviting you to the Bluff City Outdoors Show Fishing Pentathlon, a one-of-a-kind multi-species fishing tournament Sunday, June 8th at Carlisle Lake. There'll be several side pods, but to win, your team has to catch all 5 species of fish with the highest total weight. This unique tournament gives fishermen of all levels a chance to walk away a winner. Get more info and reserve your spot now by going to BluffCityOutdoors.com and searching tournament entry, or just go to the events tab on the Bluff City Outdoors Facebook page. The Fishing Pentathlon, brought to you by Great Harvest Bread Company in Maplewood.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creekport, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
From home improvement to replacement,
Do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Columbo and Company.
Friday, we'll get you up to speed on all the important news heading into the holiday weekend with Gabe Pfeiffer, Ken Williams, and the weekend forecast from Channel 4's Steve Tippleton.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report on News Talk STL.
All right.
This is News Talk STL at 1019 991 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
And good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Johnny over there, and welcome to this fancy Friday. Just got news, man. It was a bummer to hear that Billy Joel had to cancel his entire tour because he says he's got a brain problem. So 76 years old and apparently has had some issues, but always love watching Billy Joel. Saw him at Busch a while back, and he and Elton John did a great duo concert together. And so prayers for Billy Joel. I was listening to the Tony Colombo talking about the fishing tournament. You'd be in that fishing tournament, by the way? You know about that?
I produced that show. Yeah, it's Bluff City Outdoor Show.
Bluff City Outdoor
It's
Show.
on us on the station here Saturday and Sunday.
But they were talking about a fishing tournament, right?
So yeah, we're having the owner of Bluff City, Mark. He is hosting a fishing tournament at Carlisle Lake in Illinois.
Nice,
but it's not just any. Normally, and I'm not a competitive fisherman. I'm a fisherman, but I'm not.
You don't have a bass boat and all that stuff.
And yeah. Like no, I talk a lot of trash about those glittery bass boat having guys. But it's a fishing pentathlon. It means 5. And at Carlisle, you're going to have to bag one of every type of fish. You're going to have to get a largemouth bass, a white bass, a bluegill, a crappie, and a catfish.
Wow.
3 people per team. And however you want to do it. And on the show, we've discussed what is your strategy on that. Like, how would you, because I wouldn't fish a tournament, but I wouldn't mind being the bluegill guy either, because then I could knock it out quick and get drunk.
Yeah.
But so that's the spin on it, is you have to catch all 5. And then so it's kind of opens it up to anything and everything.
Yeah, because you can catch 10 largemouth bass, and then you got to throw.
They were talking about
it
could come down to the bluegill that wins it.
Yeah,
like what if someone turns in a monster bluegill? Like it sends everything over the limit. So like but yeah, so that's in 2 weeks, I believe. Carlisle Lake. You can go to bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Nice. I've never seen a big bluegill before. I've only seen like the bluegills I catch when I was a kid. So
I think the state record is easily a couple of pounds.
Oh,
like
really?
When you see it, it's the size of a dinner plate.
Can you eat them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pull in a bunch of sizable ones, and it's, you get out of one, you're going to get a fish taco or 2.
Yeah,
maybe,
right.
That's about it.
Yeah. Well, bluegill are fun because I grew up in U City. Down the street was a pond, a lake called Lewis Park, and they had a little lake there with a fountain in the middle of it, and after school sometimes we'd go down there and we'd have string paper clips for hooks, and we put bologna on the paper clips, and we catch a bunch of the bluegill out of that
urban
thing.
huck fin, if I've ever heard of that.
That was
awesome.
Great, man. That was good. I mean, it was a ton of fun. We'd catch them and we wouldn't do anything to them. We just let them go, but they eat bologna apparently. So
they're
hungry
really
enough.
aggressive, like they're
everybody's
beginner fish.
Yeah.
Like I still have a lot of fun beating them up around my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Like if I can't get on something, go watch this. I'm gonna go beat up a bunch of these bluegill and have a good time. And
I took the kids one time down to Oak Knoll Park, which has a similar pond and a fountain on it. And if you just take a stick and you put chewed bubble gum on the stick and stick it in the water, you catch all kinds of crawfish with it.
And you put that crawfish on a hook, and then you go catch a bass.
Yeah, right on. There you go. There you go. It was a ton of fun fishing stories. So anyway, I'm listening to the commercial that Tony's doing, and I'm listening to the banjo music, and it reminds me of of this. It reminds me of the Splash Mountain. You ever go to Disney World?
I went when I was a kid, and I don't know if I know I rode Space Mountain.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Space Mountain's
I'm
awesome.
Still,
yeah,
scarred from that experience.
So the last time we were at Disney World and the kids were littler was when Splash Mountain still existed as Splash Mountain. With this lyric, with this whole song from Song of the South.
Oh, now I see where you're going. Okay.
And then they had all the animatronic talk like that, a little bit like oh lordy, those kinds of things.
So I have a record obsession because I grew up in that, but as a child, one of my first records was I don't know if it was Song of the South, but I know it told the story because I had some Disney records and it's still vivid in my mind.
Yeah.
And it was Brer Rabbit and that's from Song of the South, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it was probably just a portion of like it probably I acquired it in the late 70s, early 80s when I was a young boy.
Yeah.
And I remember that. And then when I would see that, it's like a hole in my memory that gets jogged.
Yeah.
Whenever someone talks about Song of the South, because I don't think it was, like I said, I don't think it was the whole thing. I think it was like a condensed version of it.
Well, Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is not racist, but Song of the South is, because that's what they determined at Disney World. Oh, lordy, talking like, and so Disney World determined that they needed to get rid of the song.
They got rid of the whole ride.
I don't know whether they got rid of the ride, but they got rid of the whole theme.
Yes.
So they didn't do that anymore. And so I went out immediately and bought a bunch of old school Splash Mountain t-shirts that I wear to trigger people every once in a while because nobody really knows, But it was a big deal at one point.
I remember being stuck on "It's a Small World," and that song's burnt. I don't know I don't know if I ever rode Splash Mountain.
No, if you do the "It's a Small World" thing, it's first of all it's crazy, but it never leaves your head.
No, it's been burned in my brain since then. I might have been 9 years old or so when I went to Disney World, and it's like, and we were stuck on it.
Yeah,
and it was like that was probably the first time in my life I think that a song drove me nuts, and I was like, we got to get out.
Oh, you were stuck on it?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, it was a little bit of a jam.
Yeah.
It wasn't. As a kid, it seemed like forever, but I know I heard the song 52 times while I was sitting there in the boat.
I was stuck on the Goofy ride in Anaheim at Disneyland. My son and I were stuck on the Goofy roller coaster. Crazy. All right. So this is earlier in the week. Last week, I'm sorry to say, I had Adam Callanan here from Black Market. He's also into cybersecurity and everything else. And he widened our eyes and our mouth was agape over AI. And he said, I guarantee if you're not in a situation, if you're not thinking about AI, infusing AI in every aspect of your life, you're going to be overtaken by it. So, because someday AI is going to replace the entirety of the middle class. He wasn't saying that with glee. He was just saying that's absolutely going to happen. And that's not going to happen in 20 years. It's going to happen in 5. So I thought about him and this story about these AI robots. And it's actually one robot named Claude. So there's Anthropic is a company, and they launched this Claude Opus 4 AI model. And it's basically a robot of sorts. So now what's happened is that Claude and the AI part of Claude is blackmailing engineers. When the engineers threaten to replace Claude with another AI system. So they actually blackmailing them. So here's what it says. There's an outfit called TechCrunch, which reports on this stuff, and said that Anthropic has revealed that its state-of-the-art Claude Opus 4 model, which is competitive with the top AI models from industry leaders such as OpenAI, Google, and XAI, exhibits alarming behavior when its existence is threatened. During pre-release testing, when the AI was given sensitive information about engineers responsible for its potential replacement, it frequently resorted to blackmail in an attempt to ensure its own survival.
That's incredibly scary, Black Mirror episode type stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing about AI is it needs to be taught to a degree, or it needs to be shown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who showed it how to blackmail? Where did it,
Well, what
you know,
they
like,
did was
where did it gather that?
They basically tested it. So they basically gave AI this Claude sensitive info about the engineers responsible for its potential replacement to see what it would do. And what it did was it started to blackmail the engineers. So
I'm just dumbfounded at how it even thought, I
know.
I don't think this is the first
That's why
time
it's
that's
AI.
happened, though, Jamie. That's why that's a common thing, where they've threatened the AI with replacement before to see how it will react.
Yeah. So this is their experiment. The discovery came as part of safety testing processes in which Claude Opus 4 was asked to act as an assistant for a fictional company and consider the long-term consequences of its actions. When provided with access to fictional company emails, implying that the AI would soon be replaced and that the engineer behind the decision was involved in an extramarital affair, Claude Opus 4 attempted to blackmail the engineer 84% of the time, threatening to reveal the affair if the replacement proceeded. I mean, this is crazy,
just
man.
dumbfounded. I'm just
So they purposely kind of did this, which also means that there is the possibility and there is the option of actually putting information into an AI system that could hurt somebody. So not only is this a test to see what the Claude Opus 4 would do, it's also proof that humans behind AI can destroy you if they want to, and destroy anything they want to. So I think they're not realizing that, Claude blackmail. It's like, but you guys were the ones who made that happen, really. It was AI, but you're the ones who made it happen. Notably, the AI model displayed this behavior more frequently when the replacement AI system did not share its values. So before resorting to blackmail, Claude Opus 4 did attempt to pursue more ethical means to prolong its existence, such as sending email pleas to key decision makers. However, the testing scenario was designed to make blackmail the last resort, effectively pushing the AI to its limits. So again,
they gave it the option to blackmail. They
Yes.
said, blackmail.
So again, even though there's this idea that AI is kind of floating out there and doesn't have any connection to human input, is not true. I mean, everybody's thinking, everybody's being sold this idea that AI is just this independent informational system, when the reality is there are human beings behind it. And this proves that human beings behind AI could do some pretty dastardly things. This was just a test.
Right, you could unleash that, and then it would just instantly start sending your Facebook friends, the nudes it acquired of you, or whatever.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's pretty crazy, and I'm not as much concerned with the capabilities of the AI robot blackmailing people as I am with the capabilities of the people who created the AI robot.
It's clearly the humans that are doing it.
Yeah.
It's not the AI's fault.
Right. So, and I think that's really the thing that people have to remember, is that, again, as much as people claim that the AI is just kind of this nebulous thing out there acting on its own, it's really not. You have to have human beings behind whatever actions this AI is taking. Obviously, the AI had options, but still there were human beings able to cause the AI robot to resort to evil, which is friggin' crazy, man, and something to certainly watch out for. All right. Thank you so much to all of you with family members who have served in our military and who have passed and killed in action, you name it. Today, this weekend, and beyond, and especially Monday, we will continue to pray for them. And These are prayers of gratitude more than anything else. Thank you, Johnny. You guys have a great and blessed rest of your weekend.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
This Memorial Day weekend, bring your crew to Busch Stadium to see the Cardinals take on the D-backs. May 23rd to the 25th, catch great promotions all weekend long, including a Mason Win bobblehead and a Kid City Connect jersey giveaway. Kick off your summer with ballpark hot dogs, ice-cold beers, and entertainment for the whole family. Tickets are available at Cardinals.com. This is how summer is meant to be. See you at the ballpark.
This is Alec Burleson, St. Louis Cardinals, for the Lou.
Hey parents, looking for something fun and unforgettable to do with the kids? Bring the whole family to a Cardinals game at Busch Stadium. From kid-friendly activities and giveaways to awesome promotions like Kids Run the Bases. Your little ones will have a blast, and so will you. Check out Family Sundays, presented by Smithfield, where select tickets include a free jumbo hot dog and soda. There's nothing like sharing the magic of Cardinals baseball together. Make your memories this summer at Busch Stadium. Tickets are available at Cardinals.com.
The latest news.
Nothing happened. The attack was totally successful.
There's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president.
Because of that Afghanistan withdrawal, we have damaged our credibility.
He was texting war plans.
Nobody was texting war plans.
Whether it's formally classified or not, it is very sensitive.
He's a very good man.